Hello there. In this video, we will create a temperature gauge. It's a fun visualization. Even if you don't want to create something that looks just like this or use something that looks just like this, if you follow along, you'll learn some nice tricks that you can utilize when you're making other visualizations. We're going to use in this video 3 values. We're going to use our target, our sales, so whatever it is you happen to be tracking, and the percentage difference between the sales and the target, so you can see how close you are percentage wise. Okay, so first things first, let's add the y-axis. The y-axis that we're going to use is simply the sales figure. So paste that in there, and when I do so, there will be no change because I've only added the y-axis and no values. There are still no marks, but it's done. And because this visualization consists of kind of different elements kind of mashed together, not mashed, but put together, I want to start and do them bit by bit. And the first one that I'm going to do is the bar. Yeah. And the bar is basically exactly what you do for a bar chart. You add mark, type, bar, and then add some elements just for the formatting. So this is what I've done. Type bar. I'll apply these changes so you can see. That's it. It's a bar. There's only one bar because we have no x-axis. There'll be no x-axis in this video. Type bar. I've set the color. I've set the fill color. So the fill color is this gray. For example, if I changed it here and said red, it would be red, but I don't want red. And the colors will be fairly consistent throughout this because I want to ensure that it looks like one element. Yes, it's 3 bars or 2 bars and a point, but I want it to look like they're all kind of the same thing. So that you'll see that I'm using the same colors over and over again. I've set the width, I've set the stroke width, all these things. If you choose to create this yourself, you can, of course, yourself change the colors and the width and all this sort of thing. But that's the mark bar that we have. What I don't want to do though is use the sales as the y-axis because this is going to be the background bar. This is not the bar that moves up and down as our sales increase. Actually, this is the bar that should set the target. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy and paste this encoding. And when I paste it in here, I want to change the Y from sales to target, yeah? And when I do that, you'll see that it goes from whatever it was before, 11,000 or something, to 15,000, because our target is 15,000. I will come back to that later, and I will make a change. But right now, that's what we're going to keep it as, 15,000. Let's add the point to see how it starts to look. So when this mark is finished off, paste that in, put my comma here, and now I have mark type point. Show you that change. So mark type point, circle. You can't see it very well because I haven't added a couple of things. Well, I'll add those now just so you can have a look. I'll say fill, and I want to say fill is red. Okay. So now you can see a bit better. The shape is circle. If I chose square, it would be a square, just to show you how that works. Now it's a square, but I want circle, so let's keep it as a circle. Size 8,000. As I said before, the colors are going to be the same. I'm going to add the stroke width as well because it's very important that the stroke width is the same on the bar and the circle. So it looks like it's just, again, like it's the same element. What I need to do also is add the opacity and say it is 1 because I don't want any transparency. So now I have the circle that I want. I don't have it in the position that I want. Obviously, it should be at the bottom of the bar, not sitting basically halfway up. The reason, again, that it's halfway up is because it's using this y-axis that I've set here, and I don't want to do that. What I want to do is use a y-axis that I define. So how do we do that? First of all, just to make it a little bit simpler, I'm going to copy and paste this encoding into this mark and apply that change. So it hasn't changed anything. I just now have the encoding there. It says Y sales. If I were to say Y target, it would of course move to the top of the visualization, but I don't want it at the top. I want it at the very bottom. What I'm going to do to make it a bit easier for myself, I'm going to do some transformation of the data, and I'll do this at the top. We'll do a couple of transformations and I'll try and put them all together so it's easier to see. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a transformation, and then we'll have a look to see which transformation I'm going to do in order to get this circle to the bottom. Okay, cool. So what I want to do is something called a calculate. And the calculate is a really straightforward thing, because all I'm saying is that calculate datum target, so just the target value, datum target minus datum target times 1.08. So target minus target times 1.08. So 0 times 1.08 essentially, yeah? And that's going to push this, when I use this, I've called it Y circle. What I want to do now is, instead of saying here point Y is target, I want to use Y circle, Y axis circle. And you see it's moved at the bottom. The reason I did this 1.08 is because here you see the 0 is it's very much in the middle of this circle. I want to push it further down, because then you start to see the values a lot faster, which is, we'll see a bit later on the effect that it has. But that is a nice place to have that bar in the circle. Cool. So now I've set the y-axis for my circle and I have the bar sticking out. What I now want to do is add another bar, and this bar is going to be the bar that tracks the value going up. Yeah? So, as I say, we have our target bar. Now we need a bar that shows the value. This is a really straightforward mark. There's nothing complex about it at all. Let's have a look, paste it in and see what it is. So, paste it in the mark bar. And as you can see, this one's really basic. Mark, bar, color red, width 27, tooltip true. Apply that change. Now you can see that I have this bar going up the center of the thermometer, and that is basically me tracking my progress up and down. As the value moves, the bar moves up the top, and it looks like it's moving up the top through the thermometer. Looks pretty cool so far. Still got a few things to do to make it more precise, look a bit better. Yeah. So at this point, we do have a small problem in the fact that the top of the thermometer marks our target. Now, at first, I thought that was a good idea, and I admit I was wrong. I was being convinced that that shouldn't be the case. The top shouldn't be the target, but rather the target should sit inside the thermometer, and I need some leeway to move up when I surpass the target, because that happens. It's always nice to surpass your target, right? And if I do go above the target, where's it going to go, rather than just straight out the top? So what I'm going to do now, in this first bar here, which is currently set as Y target, what I want to do is do something similar to what I've done here, which is where the circle is sitting, and I'm going to create a new level for the target so that my target is within the thermometer. So what I'm going to do here in my calculate, I'm going to have calculate datum target times 1.2. So target times 1.2. And the name of that calculation is going to be underscore top. So now when I change this bar, the field is no longer going to be target, it's going to be underscore top. And it's going to push up. See, now the top isn't 15,000, 15,000 being my target. It's higher. It's 15,000 times 1.2. And that allows us some space to go above our target, but not go out the top of the thermometer. Of course, if we go really far over our target, well done everyone, but also you're still going to go out the thermometer at some point. But it just means you won't immediately do that. It's less likely. But we'll come to that again later. So now we have a thermometer with a higher top. We've got our values going up the middle. I would like to now, because our target isn't set by the top, it's harder to see where the target is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add a mark to show where our target is now. And I'm going to use a tick. And the tick will basically just be a line through this visualization. And what it is quite straightforward. So I'm going to put this at the very bottom to ensure that nothing goes above or goes over the tick. Yeah. So I'm going to put it here. And what I pasted in was this tick, mark type tick. I'll apply that change so you can see, and that's all it is, just this little thin line, yeah, but it's really effective. One tick sitting across the middle. As you can see, I've said the y-axis is the target, so I know that that line is precisely where our target is. As you can see, 15,000, that line is right there, so you can see that's the target. Everything else, the size, the thickness, it's just me specifying how I want it to look. Thickness is 6, it's a bit of a thicker line. Completely your choice as to how you make that line look if you create this visualization. But there you go. So now it's looking good because you can see we have a target here and we have a line going up the middle. So it's starting to take shape. It's starting to look like the visualization we wanted to create, which is, of course, a fantastic thing. On top of that, I want to show precisely where this value is. I have my tooltip switched on so I can see sales is currently 11,400. But I want to see that without having to move my mouse across. I want it to be like all visualization should be, clear and getting the information across that we need to show. So I'm going to create a text mark. And my text mark is going to show not only the value, but also the percentage difference between the sales and my target. How are we going to do that? It's going to be fine. Nice and straightforward, kind of-ish. So, our text mark. So let's paste a text mark in and see. So, really straightforward thing thus far. It will change in just one moment. Text. I set the offset to 75 because I want to set it to the right-hand side. The size 16, so it's nice and clear. So again, all things that you can change depending on how you want yours to look. The text at this point just says sales. It just says 11,400. But what I want to do is I want to combine that. I want to combine that sales, but also with the percentage difference, as I said before. You can do that really easily in two different text marks, but for the sake of this video and learning and doing things maybe a slightly better way, I want to combine the text of the sales figure with the text of my percentage difference. And it is actually nice and easy-ish to do. How am I going to do it? So I'm going to do a transform, and I'm going to do this transform within this mark. So I'm going to do it between the mark and the encoding. Yeah? So paste that in there, and we take a look. So what I just pasted in is this transform, and it says transform calculate, and it's allowing me to format, it's allowing me to combine and format those values. So it's saying format datum.sales, and then this comma 0.0f is the way of formatting it to 0 decimal places in 1,000 separator. I'll link this stuff in the video, how you format numbers, and I'm combining that with a minus, get at that in a second, and the target percentage, which is formatted as 1 decimal place as a percentage. And I've named that counter. Okay, so now I'm going to change this field to counter because that's the name of what we just created. And you can see here you have this now, this 11,400 minus 76%. So obviously that minus is wrong. So why have I put it in there? Because what you can also do is specify that when you have a particular item within a field of text, use that as a line break. So now my mark type text, I'm just going to add a line here, and it says line break minus. So now when I apply that change, it's using that minus to break the line and forcing a new line, which I think looks really cool. I'm very happy with that. So now we can really clearly see that our current sales is at 11,400, which is 76%. And that just sits right there. So we've added a lot of clarity with that little change. Cool. We could also, add stuff like a mark of text to show where our target is. So let's just do that quickly because I'm talking about clarity and making it look better and easier for users. So again, this was a quick paste in because there's not a lot to it. Mark text, setting the color, setting my offset, and the y-axis is a target. So you can see right here is the target. If I wanted to, I could also combine that text value, just the word target, with what the number is as well. But because I haven't this switched on, I think it's okay. But I probably should also have target and 15,000. But I've shown how to do it. And if you want to add that, you could, of course, do that yourself. So we've got now a pretty good working thermometer. It looks really clear. We have the line going to the middle. We have a target. We can surpass the target and stay within the thermometer. We're showing the current value. We're showing what percentage that is. One of the final things I want to do, we're getting towards the end, don't worry. It's a long one, I know. I want to specify a better color range. Currently, I've just said red. I said this is red and that's red. We could change that. We could improve that and say when the values are a certain value, then let's have a different color. And that's what I'm going to do now. So where we've had the fill in the bar, so we have here, point, fill, red. Let's change that. Let's make it a little bit nicer. Instead of saying fill red, we're going to fill with an expression. I've covered expressions before. This is simply saying that if my sales are greater than or equal to our target, I want the color green. If my sales are less than target divided by 1.5, then red, otherwise orange. So make that change. Now you can see the circle at the bottom is orange. This bar isn't, but that's fine because we know how to do it now. We've got this change here. So now when I have the same thing for my bar, I have my bar red. What I'm going to do here is use the same thing. So color, I'm going to get rid of the fill. I'm just going to type color. Exactly the same calculation. Apply that change, and now you can see that I've applied that change. And because of the calculation that I've used divided by 1.5 of the target. You could use a different figure if you want. You could make it that more dynamic. I just went for that for the sake of showing what was possible. Now we have that the color changes depending on what the current levels of sales are. We're almost there. We're almost done. There's one thing left to do, which is definitely the silliest part, but this is all a little bit silly. Good fun. I hope you're learning something, but it's still a little bit silly. And I want to add one final text mark. I want to add this ultimate visual celebration of what might happen when you surpass your target to such a large level that this might happen. So I just pasted in another text mark, the final text mark. As it says mark text. And what it's saying is if the size, so the size is set as if the sales is greater than the very top line. This underscore top is what we created before, underscore top. So basically target times 1.2. If the datum sales is greater than this underscore top, which we know is the target times 1.2, then the size of this element is 70. If it's not, then it's 0. So you just can't see. It's always there, but it's 0. And the encoding, the text value, is this emoji. And with text, you can use the emojis, which one you want. So I've gone for this very celebratory explosion. The y-axis field is, again, y top, which is this line here. And that's all it is. It's this emoji. It's set to that line. And when it hits that line, it increases in size. So let's see what happens when we surpass our target. Because for me, we have all the elements now that we need to create this visualization. So let's just have a walk through it. We're currently at 0%. We go up slowly, we go further up, it goes from red, we get to a certain point, it goes to orange, we're getting there. Then all of a sudden we're past the target. Fantastic, everyone's happy we're past the target, but we still have space inside our thermometer. We're getting very good now, almost at 120% of our target. And when we do, woohoo, big explosion, because we exploded our thermometer because our sales were so good. Okay, that part's very silly, I know. However, this is, for me, a really nice example of what you can do with Deneb and Vega Light, just with a little bit of playing around and using things in a non-standard way. Yes, I know you might never put something like this in one of your reports or infographic or whatever it is you might be creating. But there are lots of things there. There are lots of ways of doing things that can be used in much more standard visualizations. And I think creating something like this kind of helps you learn and helps you understand how the elements work together and what the elements are. I hope you agree. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're doing anything in a different way, of course, as ever, let me know. Great to learn from you too. And thank you very much. Do all the YouTube, subscribe, like type stuff. Thank you very much. Take care and goodbye.